jump into SEO and web pages, building web pages and stuff like that, and leveraging AI and what you could do with it and some power behind it. I'm going to show an example. We're going to walk through how to build a custom GPT that's focused on SEO input. And then, and kind of like review, I said website, but really more of a web page is what we're going to be doing. We're going to review a web page. And there's limitations to what GPT can do and can't do. If there's anybody on this call who already has familiarity and is good with SEO, I can't remember. I know there were a few people in some of the survey who were commenting about, being some power users with SEO. There is structure. So I'm going to show you an example of like a small piece of like a process, but there's a lot more that goes into SEO and like, using tools like SEMrush or other things, or just looking at the site or having your own knowledge before you use this kind of piece that I'm going to show you. And then there's like what you're going to take out of that content and like what you're going to go with it. Hey, Sarah, I see you're from Denver. Love SEO. That's great. But this is kind of a really cool tool. I'm going to show you how to build it in a minute, but where I came from this is I was looking at some different tools that are in the market today. And there was a particular one that I about pulled the trigger and did a purchase of, kind of like I think it was like a monthly subscription where it would analyze websites. And it really was a powerful tool, but I was looking at what it was doing in some of the demo process and realized, hey, I could kind of build a GPT to do most of this. And it kind of challenged me to try to do it. So you'll get something out of this. Again, I would love to say, like, take this, use it, give me feedback, make it better. Come back to me. I'd love to hear how you guys leverage something like this and what we could do with it. So if you've got ChatGPT and you've got the Plus, if you're a paid, open it up. Let's build one of these together. I'm gonna put the code in here for you to like just literally copy paste. So leverage that. And then if you don't have the paid version of that, but you have access to, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, one of the others, you can just copy this into a text and just feed it in each time. It's a lot more complicated that way. This is really written for a GPT, but you can do it that way. So I wanted to mention that to everybody. All right, so I'm gonna jump out of here. And again, ask questions. Carlos, stop me if I'm going too fast and somebody has a question. Otherwise, we'll jump right in. So I'm going to copy some text here from another document that I have. I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. If you don't have the sidebar open, you do have to have, be logged in, and you're going to go to Explore GPTs. And once you hit Explore GPTs, in the far right corner, it's going to say Create. So I've done this before. So those of you who have listened to me building a GPT before, I'm gonna move pretty quickly with this part in hopes that you've already watched some of the previous segments that I've shown. This is probably going to be the most complex GPT I've ever kind of shown anyone. I've got some that are a lot more complex than this, but I think that I saw with some users coming on board that maybe have a little more savvy with GPTs and stuff like that. I wanted to start to get to that level. So you'll go to configure. Again, the create is where you're having conversation with the GPT and having it create. I've not seen that be as successful because I want to really put tight controls around how these GPTs work. So I like configure, and I'm just going to name it. Oh, that did not copy. Copied from something else I had that I'm going to paste later. Okay. I'm going to call it just SEO Assistant. You can call it whatever you want. You can say SEO Assistant Robot. You can say AI SEO Assistant. And I'm just going to say you're a SEO expert to provide guidance with optimizing my website. And then instructions. So this is the part where I will paste this into the chat. Okay. Carlos, will you click that and make sure that can be opened? While I continue? Fantastic. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So the first part is your background. And so a lot of times when I write these GPTs, I will format all of these in like a Word document or a text edit program before I drop them in here. I get through the formatting and everything first. And so I'll give it a little background. of like who it is. I'll set up like some of the personality style, and you can see a lot of this stuff online, like different formats. Everybody's kind of got their own feel, like what works, but and um, and I usually will give it like its primary role, like who it is and like what its purpose is. So in this case, I'm saying you're an SEO expert, you understand SEO. I could say things like you have this many years of expertise, and you can see again, you can go read and see other people who are talking about some things like that. Sometimes I feel like that's a little over the top. I would love to hear feedback if you guys have ever had any like very big variances with stuff like that. I've done a lot of tests. I think giving it enough role, you could take this background out almost completely and just say, just give me this from an SEO point of view, and it'll still do a very good job. So there's a few things that you can make two or three different variations of this and get pretty much the same answer. So um, as this grows and gets better, it'll get more and more precise. But this is another piece, which is your personality style. Communicate the professional tone of an SEO agency. So I'm kind of like talking back to myself, like pretend you're an agency and give me that conversation and response. What is your primary role? I want you to look at a web page. I want you to analyze it and give me back this summarized checklist. And then I will provide you with a focus key phrase. And I want you to look at the website based on that key phrase topic and like tell me if it has that information. And then this is the focus of the role. It's going to go through this checklist that I built. And so it's everything from key phrase distribution, density, outbound links. I'm not going to this isn't meant for SEO training seminar. So if you guys want to see something like that, let me know. I'll be fine to make a separate webinar and kind of really dive into the depths of like SEO and how to do some of that and what's needed. But this is not an exhaustive list, as some of you may know. And there's a lot more things like meta description, meta tags, title tags, and a lot of other components that GPT can't see and can't look at yet. In the future, I'm pretty sure it will. There's no reason if it can browse, then why can't it do some like, see the code behind it? But at this point, it really can't. It's just seeing like a surface the same way we look at a web page. And so it can't see that it's actually an H2 or an H1. If you're seeing feedback like that, it's hallucinating, it's not real. So you've got to understand, like it is looking at it just like with the naked eye, just like we do when we're looking at a web page. So any further detail in SEO, you've got to use your instinct or use other software to do. But then I say outline, give me the output of this analysis. And so I give it two steps here. I tell it to score it 1 through 5, and I made some cool little icons. You could play around with this and make your own. Oh, Sarah had a question. Apologize. Single web page. It will only look at one page at a time. GPTs, I've not seen any that has the capabilities to crawl an entire website yet. You could probably give it a list of 2 or 3 pages at a time. I haven't tried that with this. I will talk a little bit more because I'm going to show you some examples of where GPTs sometimes get lost when you give it too much output. So sometimes I recommend focusing on one page at a time. And then finally give it an overall score. And so to wrap this up, and again, I could get into a lot of details of that, but I'm gonna show some examples and I'm gonna talk about that more because I want to keep moving. All right. And I'm gonna give it one conversation starter. This isn't required, but I usually put one in there. Provide me with a key phrase and a URL to review. And I am going to turn on code interpreter just in case I ever want to use it. I don't notice any difference like whether you want it or not. All right. So your SEO guy is ready now. You've got the instructions in here. I know that was a lot to go through, but I wanted to do a quick overview. I'm going to go back to create and please make an avatar for this GPT. So I've got a quick key. So I don't even have to type sometimes, and I can just voice to text. You can turn that on. I'm using a Mac, and I've got it set up to where I double click a keystroke and it auto listens. So that's great. You can change that. You could say make it red, make it different. It's basically using the DALL-E 3 image generator to make these icons. So it's just a simple icon so you can kind of know what it looks like. That's not a big deal because it's just how you view it. Then you hit save up here in the right corner. Typically, you're not going to have this extra option that says PixelNova. That's my company. You're not going to see that unless you're at a paid company level with GPT. You're usually going to have just only me, anyone with a link, and everyone. I would not suggest everyone unless you know what that's doing. I would keep it to just yourself. If you do want to share it with people, anyone with a link is what you want to do. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to pause just for a second and make sure if anyone has a question or if you're actually trying to walk along with this while I'm going through it live. Let me know if you have any questions or you need me to slow down or go through something. If not, I'm going to jump right into a couple examples now that we have this built. So the first example, I pulled a couple different websites, just random sites. I'm going to use Saltlife. And I'm going to use Saltlife, and we're going to go through this page. This is the men's all page. And I was trying to pick a key phrase from this, and I'm going to show a couple of different examples. Again, going into a little more formatting around SEO. So very specifically, when you're looking at a key phrase you're wanting a page to rank for, this page probably already ranks for, and it does, a ton of other web key phrases. So this isn't the best example. I just needed some examples to show you guys. You would typically be using this for when you need a page to rank better for a particular key phrase. Like if there's one you're really going after, or if there's another page that you're building that's brand new that you're trying to put some content on, and you want to use this GPT to vet it, this is a great example to do. So I'm going to use this page, and I'm going to go back to my GPT assistant here, and you can use this prompt here and kind of pre-prompt it and say, provide me with this. And it's going to say, give it to me. Give me the URL and tell me what the key phrase is. So I'm going to paste that in there. And let me copy it from here so I don't have to retype it, make it a little faster. So there's the URL of this page. All right. And then the key phrase I'm going to go after is men's fishing styles. So it's running through. Just note, I was running quite a few examples this morning. There are times when GPT will get hung up. And fortunately, in this instance, I just built this new assistant and it's working really well. But there are times when it hangs up or freezes or different things will happen. So just note that sometimes that will happen. You have to rerun it. That's just kind of how GPTs are, whether you pay for them or not. They're still kind of in this like alpha beta state. They're not perfect. But so for this phrase, it's got a lot of warnings, and the key phrase is not evenly distributed. The key phrase is used minimally. Outbound links, internal, there are internal links. That's true. So all this stuff, it's nailing pretty good. Images. It's not always perfect. So please note, if I run it again, and I'll probably do that, I'll probably run another version of it just to let you see. Maybe it won't get hung up. Good, let's run it again. And I'll show you two side by side. So you can see that, anytime you're using ChatGPT or any of these LLMs, you're always going to get like a slightly different variation of the answer almost every single time. And no matter, like this time, it gave it a score of 65. And last time it gave it a score of 35. So I do like that it gave me some recommendations from this one. One of the things that I could kind of do a follow-up on is I could say, list me out the issue areas of this checklist I need to focus on first. So it's kind of like what it already did, but if that's something that it doesn't do, sometimes I could like run it again and go, what's wrong? What are the areas I need to focus on versus trying to look at these icons and stuff like that. And you could change again, you could make these icons different. I was just trying to make it visual for me. And then from this, I could kind of like make a checklist that I could kind of go after, and then I could come back and check it later. So I'll give another example of a different phrase. So you notice that I went for a phrase of men's fishing styles. I don't know men's fishing styles is mentioned right here. So it is on the page. But let's say I do men's fishing clothing, especially since men's clothing is here. Um, and that might get a completely different result. Or I could say men's beachwear or something. So you're going to get a different, keyword density and stuff like that if you run it again with a different phrase. Again, getting into the SEO side of things, you will probably not be, you can't rank at the same level of like 100% for two completely different key phrases for the exact same web page. Just like you wouldn't do that for a homepage. You need to be very specific if I want, I may happen to rank really well for those two phrases and I could get them pretty close because those are pretty similar, men's fishing styles and clothing, but something completely different, like men's saltwater fishing shorts, I would want maybe a separate landing page for that, and I'd build a content pillar around that, and I could use GPT to kind of write some of that and build out some of that content. So more information there, but I don't mean to get too detailed with this, but to keep things rolling, here's another instance where I ran it again. You can see that it did not give me my ratings this time. So that's a thing where it's not always perfect. And so it can also be because I didn't start a new chat. And I do find that it's a little cleaner when you start a brand new chat and don't have any of the extra. So the great thing about a GPT is I don't have to give it, remember all that stuff we wrote at the beginning to build a GPT. I don't have to give it all that information at the beginning. So if you're not using the power of a GPT, that's the power of it. I mean, all I've got to put is the URL and the key phrase, and it just punches this out. And I could run like a whole bunch of pages. I can't remember. I think Sarah, I think you were asking a question earlier, like, measuring, you can't do the whole site, but I could run a whole bunch of pages back to back and just make a new chat, run another page. And it doesn't always get hung up like that. Sometimes you can continue the conversation and talk to it more. But anyway, great tool. I like this one. I've got some other bots that I really like that I use for building content. This one's not built for that. I could dive in and ask it a few other questions, and it will answer pretty well. So you can continue the conversation and go, hey, how do I do that? What do you suggest? You say something about key phrase distribution. Where should I add this as content on the page? What's a example paragraph that I could add? Help me write it. You could ask that here, and it would spit all that out for you. Any other questions coming up, Carlos? If not,
Not yet. Oh, Sarah did say, do you recommend rerunning a prompt a few times to get better sense of the page? I guess that's what you're saying, to start a new one just in case for each page. But I'm thinking, Sarah, you're asking that you think that ChatGPT would give you a different answer each time.
yeah, it'll give a slight different answer each time. It will differ just a little bit in its response. And so again, that's why every time with an output from GPT, you've always got to humanize it and kind of like read over and make sure you're putting that part into it. That's super important. Um, what I'm going to show here is a completely different site that I Googled this morning and found they're actually ranking for this phrase. I think at like number one or number two, which is really funny. This is horrible. This is a Shopify site too, guys. So if you guys are in e-commerce, they're a good one to go after. There's like an S over here in the top left corner of the screen, just hanging out for no reason. I'm in a Safari browser. I don't know if that's the problem, but man, it's bad. So they're ranking number one. I'm assuming they're still in business and selling things, but they've got this, foldable ping pong table. So, and they rank for that really well, which I was surprised. So I put that in there. I put best folding ping pong table. Now this is called a mini ping pong table, but I left that word out. And let's just see what this says. So, and like I said, they're winning on Google right now for this phrase. This is a great example where, how could they do it better though? How could they stay on top? Well, for one, they need to rebuild their site, but if you know who they are, tell them to contact me. They need to do a lot better. But the other thing is like if I was a competitor and I was selling, something came through. If I was a competitor and I was selling this product somewhere, I would definitely want to I feel like I could outrank them very quickly. It wouldn't take long, and I'd better move them to, you know, another site to the top very quickly, because there's really not a lot of content out there written on this page. But for now, it's ranking well. It's holding that spot, but you can see that it could be a lot better. So it's currently giving it a 50 out of 100. You can see a lot of issue areas here where it's having some trouble. So a lot of opportunity to be better there. So that's all I wanted to show with the SEO assistant today. I wanted to show just a couple of quick examples. What other areas I should be looking at outside this? Here's another follow-up prompt that I was testing earlier. Let me run this last one, and then I'll jump to the next section. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on the SEO assistant today because it is it's a gold mine of a prompt I spent a lot of time with building that I wanted to share today and just kind of give to this group. So I've not shared that anywhere else. And this is another like step, you know, what other areas should I be looking at outside of this list? So these are areas like mobile responsiveness, you know, looking at this site from a mobile perspective. How does it look? How does it appear? Page speed, you know, running another test. GPT can't do page speed tests right now. So that's another area. Meta tags, schema markup. These are all things that GPT can't help with yet. So those are things that you're going to need to kind of do elsewhere that really make a bigger impact. So just a great idea. If you need, this is what's cool about this tool. You can kind of continue to have a conversation with it and like help it guide you along. Hey, what else do I need? What am I not thinking about? So if you're new to SEO or you're trying to like learn things a little better or like think of things outside the box that maybe you've not been, you know, this thing really is saying all the right stuff. Now you just got to go after it and kind of make some of these things happen. Do you have to put attention into all of these to make it work and rank well? No, but if you can hit the majority of this and continue, you know, pushing, you can get one of these to rank really well.